Now, instead of more theories, I'm gonna demonstrate processing a batch of clutter. Warning, this may not be that interesting. No flashy magic cleanup stuff here anytime soon, but it's realistic. Some will also find it ugly, some will find it slow, and why are you processing all this garbage anyway? Just chuck it, some will say. For perspective, this particular batch has been hanging around for many months, and some of it for years. So relative to that, it's lightning fast and done in a flash. I might one day assemble a more curated and less embarrassing batch, but until then, this will have to do. And it illustrates the challenges in a way that another batch might not. This has been hanging around my desk area, so it's a high-value target for elimination, and I didn't want to store yet another clutter box. I have enough of those. I wanted to illustrate the use of a processing table for actual processing. However, this deviates from the concept slightly, in that I put the entire batch on the processing table, on this inbox shelf, and the items are being picked up by hand to be examined, so technically it's a case of a processing hand that serves the same role. I wanted to emphasize that the processing table doesn't have to be a table. It can be any surface or container, and even no surface at all. It's more about the process of focusing on one item and developing clarity about it, and not moving on until the status and actionables about the item in question have been clarified. For example, it could be a processing pizza box or a processing briefcase, pretty much anything. I will try to demonstrate that. Having a table is still advisable, as it adds comfort, convenience, and space for larger batches, and as well as gadgets and accessories. And it's good to develop consistent associations and habits connecting that area with the thinking processes that need to take place. Also, note that there isn't an emphasis on disposal during the processing itself, nor is there a struggle to impose that particular outcome. The main purpose of processing is establishing clarity, organization, and flow. If disposal happens to be the conclusion, all the better, but having a full-blown challenge to dispose in the middle of processing a batch is counterproductive and is more likely to take away the energy and the momentum and derail the processing. If something represents a challenging candidate for disposal, it's better to confront it separately on its own right. It might require more energy, more order, more time, and a more enlightened perspective, which I'll also try to demonstrate. I think this illustrates things pretty well in retrospect. First, the challenges faced, the hesitation, the reluctant making of a disposal decision, reconsidering, reversing, and then proper decision making and resolution. This is also something to keep in mind. Situations like that, cases of hesitation, difficulties, challenges, inability to immediately process and clarify what might look like failures, these things are expected to happen with processing. Yes, this will happen. This is to be expected. This is normal. And it's actually one of the benefits of processing is to identify these things, to put focus on them, and to align them up for a more thorough examination. So this should not be interpreted as failure. This is just invitation to do some more thorough thinking. I believe speed of processing as slow and painful as it may seem at first, is not as important as the practice of processing and organizing and eliminating clutter. Processing and organizing are skills and habits that become stronger, easier, and more efficient with practice. Also, with repeated practice, less and less new types of items end up being encountered, and more recurring item types that you've already established a precedent and a destination for, which also works to improve the efficiency of the process. So the most important thing is to practice, to clarify, to take items to determine destinations, to carry out intended actions, and to keep at it. I also believe that with increased sense of order and control over one's environment, capacity to make meaningful decisions, including particularly discarding ones, will increase as well, at least for those able and willing to do the self-driven cleanup. Now, prepare for the ugly. So let's go. And this is a sticker from sort of outdoor waste bin, a green one. It's in not too great a shape. It spent some time outdoors, so was exposed to elements, but still it's valid as such. Such things, generally labels, packaging, I personally like to preserve, at least in the digital form, because it shows the item, it shows the title, what it's properly called, its brand, its good qualities, the barcode, maybe some instructions, etc. So this one basically scan or image, and the original can be disposed of. So this goes to the scanner. Same deal, but this is from a toilet tank from a renovation to the scanner. Receipt, a gas station receipt to the scanner. There's a bunch more receipts. All go to the scanner. This is a label from a monitor. Same deal, a ruler. This goes to the box where office supplies and the accessories go, or maybe to the desk drawer. Put it in one of those places, doesn't really matter. Characters from kids' toys, probably scanner. Some scrap of paper with some work notes, scanner. Nails, a bunch of rusty nails from probably floor removal. These go to the box with waste nails, screws. I might just eventually dump the whole thing to some scrap metal disposal. Bits from juice cartons and bag clips. This goes into a similar box with such things. A shim. There is a proper box for shims. I'll try to locate that box. Some coins. These will go into another box I have for such purpose. a chopstick. I do have a good number of uses for these, so I'll take this to the sink. I frequently use this for technical purposes. It's a bit dirty, that's all. I'll just leave it here for now. This is a color sample for one of kids' rooms that was recently painted. I'll scan this for reference, then I don't know, keep or dispose. In any case, scan for now. This, I'm not sure what this jig is, some kind of part from a lamp probably, or for furniture. I'll probably put it in the lost and found box with uncertain parts. This brackets from some IKEA something. I'll try to determine what this is from, and maybe just place it in the lost and found parts as well. Anyway, requires further examination, which I'm not gonna go into just now. This clip, I'm not really sure where it's from. Maybe same, maybe not. This, I don't know. Sticker can probably be thrown out. This is a sort of blank sticker, actually a cut end from a labeler tape. I actually have a bag or box of these, and I sort of reuse them as writable stickers. This can be attached to something and then written on with a marker, making a decent sort of label. So there's a plastic cup with these things from which I regularly draw and reuse these labels. What's left? What's more? So there's actually two things. There is binder clips bag and some sort of sale price sticker. So this goes to the proper box with office supplies, binder clips. And the sticker, it was actually from a can of spray paint we bought recently. So this, scan and dispose. And this is a silica gel. I think I'm hoarding these for some kind of reuse. So I'm gonna hoard this. What's left here? What is this? This is just a waste piece of paper, garbage. There's another silica gel. It joins the first one. This is from parts from some bed bag, and put in a drawer with furniture parts. Rubber band, it's kind of dirty, so rinse, dry, and reuse. It joins the chopstick. These parts, broken parts of a paper clip, make it into a hook for drying area. Also goes there. And some random screw. This goes into a jar with assorted misplaced screws. Wood chip. I'll throw it out. And done. This itself is just an empty plastic container. Incidentally, also a little bit dirty, or maybe it's from the contents, so also goes to the washing area. And just like that, this former inbox board is done. It's empty. It's kind of dirty and it has some dust and hairs. Needs to be cleaned itself. But I am now relatively clear on pretty much all of these contents, and these can be acted upon as such, placed in their proper respective places, scanned, washed, or whatever needs to be done with them. And now this is no longer a collection of clutter. These are relatively determined, relatively definite things in terms of what to do with them. And that's it. This concludes the demonstration, and I guess I'll clean up, put away what I can, and move on. PS. Actually, this guy, a sticker, I kind of reconsidered throwing it away. So it's a bit dirty on the other side. So I decided to clean it up a little bit using tape. And then I'll put it in a box with other such things and hoard it at least for a while. This is the hoarder tendency is kicking in. I just feel like not throwing this out right now. Maybe I'll just eventually throw out the entire lot of them, the entire box with such stickers, but for now I just don't feel like it. That's fine. Moving on. I revisited the question of keeping the stickers. I had a chance to think about this later a few times, and long story short, I decided to dispose of them. This thinking happened on a few separate occasions, away from processing and the items themselves. I thought about this while cooking, while doing dishes, or driving somewhere, and gradually the right questions were asked and answers emerged. For a final step, I decided to formulate and record these thoughts, and that's when final clarity came, and with it the answer was evident. What's worth mentioning is not the actual personal thoughts about this specific item, but the entire sequence and the outcome. Thinking happened, including thinking done away from the item, which may well be a valuable ingredient in the process, and a method to keep in mind. This method of stepping away from the item is something that I found useful on other occasions. One day at work, I talked to a coworker, a programmer, who was solving some problem. I suggested we take a break from the problem and grab some lunch instead, and maybe discuss the problem while at it. So we did. He told me about this problem. We talked to another coworker on the phone, and this actually helped the first coworker make progress in the right direction more than continued sitting in front of the computer would have done. For processing items, perhaps this works because one might be able to think more clearly and logically away from the sight of the item. Maybe.